Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I am so glad to have you all here. It is Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose, and this is Oracle Live TV. I'm so excited that you're all here with us, and I really am really excited about the three beautiful women that are going to be speaking to us tonight. Not only are they talented entrepreneurs, but they're wonderful soul sisters out here in the universe doing amazing things and making the world a better place. So I'm excited to share what they're doing, and I'm also excited to hear what their questions are for the Oracle. Now, some of you who have been watching the show know, I am, as I said, the Oracle on Purpose. I am intuitive business architect, and I've been doing this work for about 25 years. I'm celebrating 25 years in business this year. And I really focus my business on helping entrepreneurs and light-bearing leaders who are really already creating something magical in the world, but feel like perhaps they're feeling a little bit of overwhelm or distraction or shiny object syndrome and can't really get around one specific area and feel fully aligned in their work. So I help them to figure out what their ability to create their alignment with their unique life purpose and their business genius. And apparently I'm tongue-tied tonight. I think it's because I've got some really special guests. I'm a little bit nervous maybe. But the truth is, I know that the work that we're doing here tonight and the work that I do with others when I'm one-on-one with them really is all about helping to bring the light bearers forward, to bring that new change in the world where we are actually creating a synergy of lifting each other up and supporting the world with our genius. And that, to me, is the ultimate reason to do Oracle Live TV. Not only so that you guys get to see these amazing people, but that each of them maybe helps to get a little bit of a shift with a question to the Oracle. And once they do, they get to give more of their amazing selves to the world as they're meant to be. So I'm really excited tonight. And I want to remind everyone, if you're watching this in a watch party and you're like, I don't know, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. It should say, first of all, that you're in a watch party. And really beneath the show, there is a comment section and there is a link that will bring you inside the room. And the reason you want to be in the room, not only is that we can hear and see you, or at least we can see your comments, but that we can then celebrate you and give you the opportunity to win a prize at the end of the night with our Insight contest. And as you guys who've been watching know, when we hashtag Insight, and something you've come across as we're talking or something that the Oracle said strikes you and amazes you and gets you that moment of like, oh, I never really thought of that before, then you get to go ahead and post that on the screen. Once you've done that, at the end of the night, before we're done, we're going to go ahead and pull somebody out of that list and we will offer you guys a really cool surprise. So we'll talk more about that in a moment. But the other thing I want to share is that once you're in the room, you can actually be a guest yourself in a way by asking a question. And you can do that in the comment section only if you're in the room. So if you're watching in a watch party, make sure you click on the link and join us in the room. I see a few people are here already and we're about to get started. So thank you all for watching me. Thank you for watching the replays. Thank you for coming back. For all of you amazing people that I know keep coming back week after week. We're excited to continue to offer this to you. And I'm really super excited about my first guest because the Oracle Live TV program started on a hilltop in the south of France when I was on an amazing trip with my very first guest tonight. And what I love about that experience was the openness of the divine that happened in that retreat with my first guest. I know you guys are like, and that because of that experience, I really saw the potential to reach more and more people with the gift of the Oracle and her guidance and her wisdom that she wants to share with people who are really making a difference in the world. And this person is absolutely one of those people. I am really excited. My first guest tonight is, Natalie Chaperon, and I'm going to go ahead and bring her up on the screen here in just a moment. What I will tell you about Natalie is that she is a French stylist extraordinaire, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. So Natalie, I'm so glad that you're here. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what a French stylist extraordinaire is and what fabulous stuff you have going on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Leah. I'm so honored. Can you hear me okay? Just want to
make
sure
our
sound is...
Yes, we're great.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Perfect. So I'm so honored to be here on your Oracle Live, and I didn't fully understand that you had birthed that, and you and the Oracle in the south of France. So I'm actually even more excited to be on the show now that I know that. So, so what I do is, you know how women speakers tend to freak out before a speaking gig and they ask themselves the dreaded question, what am I going to wear? You know that question?
Yeah. How did I do tonight? How did I do?
Yeah. Some people freak out more about what are they going to wear than what they're going to say, right? It's like it's on stage, it's on videos, it doesn't matter. And so what I do is I help women essentially align their inner essence with their outer beauty, so that there's congruency and alignment when they show up. And so as a result, my clients experience a visible increase in their confidence, in their beauty, in their radiance, and of course, in their financial success without giving up their authenticity. And they discover exactly what colors and design to wear so that no matter what their age, their shape, their size, or how they look, they feel beautiful, they look fabulous on stage or on video, and really ultimately they connect more deeply with their audience and their ideal clients and make more sales. So I am the French stylist, and I've worked with celebrities as well as some of the most highly acclaimed transformational leaders of today. So I'm so honored to be here with you tonight.
Oh, I thank you. I'm very honored to have you. And yes, I think that piece of like, I was a little extra nervous about what to wear tonight. Thank you very much. and yet I have to say what I love about the work that you do, and this was something that confidence piece that came about, which was I can go in my closet now and know that what I have will work. Like it, maybe what color I want to wear or something that particular day. But the reality of it is my closet is a welcoming place now. And I think that's such
I'm going to quote you on that one.
Okay, great.
As opposed to like you open your closet and you're like, I have nothing to wear,
Yes, exactly. And I think that is a piece of that of styling that, and having a stylist that people don't really recognize all the time is it's not just about kind of having that polish, which is certainly a part of it, but it is really that confidence you get to know that you can kind of show up. And I really love that you talked about that authenticity piece. And I know that you and I have a story about my joining you in Italy as, not a Italy fashion model.
In France, right? By the way. Italy is the next trip. No, that's the next trip.
I know. Yeah. I think it's in my brain tonight. Sorry. Yes.
But this was Paris.
This was Paris. So yes, please, everyone. I really was in Paris, but that I really thought in my head, like, this is a thing that people get stuck on, and to hear from you, and what really made it really impactful for me was the idea that I could still look like me. I could still be who I was, that there was nothing wrong with me, that authentic, real person could show up in a place like Paris and still really receive, phenomenal, phenomenal service, but really beautiful clothes that were meant for me. And I really, I want to thank you for that for myself, but also I want to let people know that, because I think sometimes people don't realize that that's the case. Like, people have their own, or perhaps can have their own issues around that, shopping in general. And that's, I think, something that you are really graceful at managing and helping people overcome. So, I know that you have that with me, but when people are looking at that and thinking about that, what would you say to others when they have that kind of as part of their issues around stylist and styling?
Yeah, it's a huge problem. And most of the people that come to me say to me, either they hate shopping or they dislike it, but it's like a variant of like, I don't enjoy it. And so I kind of tolerate it because I have to, all the way to I completely hate it. And it's traumatic, right? Where, people have like, they cry in the dressing. It's hard. And the truth is, if I look at why that's the case, you go back, and it's because of simply a lack of information. You walk into the store and there's so many choices, so many different colors, so many different designs, so many different patterns, so many different textures and necklines and fabrics. I mean, it's overwhelming. And nowadays too, with fast fashion, where things turn over so quickly, and it's just, the whole thing is, and we're trashing the planet, making these clothes very fast that are not good quality. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be healed in that industry as far as I'm concerned, but I digress. So for people who are, having a hard time shopping, it's because they don't know really truly what they're actually looking for, what is actually going to work well for them. Because after my clients work with me, and Leah, you can attest to this, you narrow your choices down. You're only looking at about 5% of what's in the store.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And that what you're looking at is going to work. So you just narrow by color first, and then you look at the design elements, which you've learned in your design blueprint, right? So you know exactly what works for you. And then you go try it on. And instead of having, 10 items that you try on, and then you walk out with maybe one that's like, it's a 6, but I have nothing else, so I'm going to get it. So now your closet is full of 5, 6s, right? Instead of that, now, because you know what you're looking for, you walk in with 10 items and you walk away with 8 potential ones that are like an 8 or 9 or a 10, like, because you know what you're looking for. So I always say it's simply a lack of education. We're never taught how to do this in a way that is in harmony with who we are. We read blog posts, or we see magazine articles, or we watch, what not to wear on TV or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's not teaching us how to actually honor what's true about who we really are and how to be empowered around it. And the whole premise of what I do is simply not simply, but it's to embrace what's true for you. Make it right, and to fully embrace it and love it, and then repeat it in the choices that you're making, in the way you adorn yourself. So it's a very much a paradigm shift, and it makes being fun, actually. Yeah. And that's what happens, right?
Right. And, I think, of course, for me, I can say that, like, there are things I'm like, I know. And you're like, no, just try it on. And I'm like, okay, I think I actually like this. So there are things that you just don't even know. Like you said, you don't know what you don't know. And everybody has their genius, and everybody has their eye that, for you, especially because you have that eye, you know what you're doing, versus someone who, maybe, like you said, doesn't even like shopping. Like that's going to be a different ball game. And when we can go to people who are in their genius, we get to get that real sense for ourselves of not only being taken care of, but getting the answers that we've maybe been seeking all by ourselves for so long and didn't even understand we were missing. So, speaking of questions and answers, this is a good time for me to ask you, if you could ask, and you can, obviously, what would your question of the Oracle be this evening?
Let me tune in, because I have a question, but I want to make sure that that's still the best one right now. Yeah. So my question is, I have a couple of big projects that I have had on my plate, for a while. And the two of them are, one is I want to write my book. Like, my book is just, and I actually have 2 books I want to write, but I know I'm going to start with the first one, which is around the adornment piece for us, right? And I have a working title for the book. So that's the first one. But then also podcast. So I was told, and I think it's true, that I should have a podcast so that I can share my message, with people. And right now my bandwidth is limited. So I really am wondering which one should I start with? Even if I have both, like which one right now, knowing that it's, the podcast would be more immediate in terms of the reach I can have, but the book I think is really important. And so that would be my question. Like, where should I focus my energy next?
Great question. Yeah. And so first she says, I'm glad you said both still. So there's not an either or. It's interesting because what I see is the book actually feels like the most, I don't want to call it urgent, but it seems like, if you do it the other way, it's the cart before the horse. So the book is actually the carrot that really feeds the fuel of the podcast, and that it It's giving the podcast grounding and structure. And so, and it allows you to have something, she's saying, that you can leverage out from the book. So it's even beyond just the podcast. It's the most leverageable piece.
The book.
And so the book. And so that then will allow you to do, well, so it'll allow you to do more in the podcast for some reason. And I think this has more to do with you, as you were saying, kind of how you set up the book and what you do with it, like who you bring on, the guests and things like that. They'll be tied somehow to the content of the book, the styling of the book, maybe even the way that you create the book. So there's a story in how the book comes to be, and there's characters in that story that can be on the podcast.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like it's opening a bunch of little, like, not like a Pandora's box in a bad way, but like it's opening a lot more leverage, the book. And the podcast, definitely do it. There's still like a really solid feeling about that. It's the feeling I get about the podcast is it's funny you said that, like I should do it. It's like, it's kind of inevitable that will happen. So energy.
I lost you, Leah. Oh. I'm not sure where Leah went. I don't know if you can actually see me or not, but I can't see Leah anymore.
All right, there we go. I'm coming back. That was interesting. So I like to say, can you guys see me now? Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So this is what I like to call an oracle moment. So I might have been revealing more than I'm supposed to be revealing, and she will literally shut me down. So I can see you guys. Can you all see me? Let's see. I'm going to talk to my assistant, Jen. Can you see me in the Facebook group? And if you can, or if Erin or Karen can see me and hear me. Okay, great. All right. So now what's happened is somehow, interestingly enough, we have lost Natalie. And honestly, that is like such a perfect example. I literally have this happen in my sessions with clients when we are getting too close to something and I'm trying to offer up more information than is mine to offer. So I hope that Natalie can come back. I'm going to pop her out of the room, and maybe that will give her a chance to get back in again. And as soon as she does, we'll follow up with that. It feels like a cliffhanger now, like we left that out there. So for those of you watching, what I was seeing on behalf of Natalie was that her concept of doing a book or her podcast first or vice versa, really what's great about that is when the Oracle is showing me pictures for people, they can come in somewhat of a story form. And so it looks like a little bit of a movie. And for her, I was seeing that the book was opening up all of those pieces that would give her more content for her podcast. So I think that she was actually contemplating that when we last saw her. So when she gets back in here, we'll go ahead and bring her back on. And as you guys are coming on, and I do see some people coming on, thank you so much for being here. April, I see you. And what I want to remind you guys as you come in is if you have a question or you get an insight from what we're speaking about, you can share them in the comments. #insight. And I'll show you that. #insight is really, that's the one that's going to give you the chance to get into the little drawing we do at the end of the night. And or you can also do, if you want to share a question, you can post Q&A in the comments and your question, and then we'll go ahead and try and have some time at the end of this to go ahead and answer those as well. So while we wait for Miss Natalie to come back to us in a few moments, I'm going to go ahead and we'll move on to our next guest, because I do see her and I can see that she's in our green room and ready to go. So the great thing is that our next guest is Karen McMullen, and she is the founder of Love, Sex, and Genius. And I love that. I went to her website the other day and I was thinking, like, that's like, who doesn't want that? All of that, everything. Yes, please. So without further ado, we're going to bring Karen on to the screen and ask her to tell us a little bit more about who she is and what she's up to. So, hey, Karen, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate your patience with our technical difficulties, and I appreciate you being here. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and what you are up to right now, and what you have to offer all of our lovely viewers.
Oh, thank you. Well, I have been helping people discover their genius for the last 10 years. And then I kind of went through my own spiritual awakening / meltdown for the last 4 years, and came up with this new model of Love, Sex, Genius, which is just really about seeing how the different aspects of our lives are all related in a flow, and that, you know, the definition of success that we're all pickled in is really one-sided and does not prioritize, like, our, you know, sex would be like our health and vitality, love is our relationships, and then, you know, and actually our gifts, like our genius, what is our true calling. So it's really about being in flow with all those aspects, and then when they're not in flow, they tend to affect each other. So when they're all in flow, they tend to all be in flow, and when they're not in flow, they tend not to be in flow. So
yeah, well, like, kind of send everything out of flow, right? I mean, I think
exactly.
I think that's something that I completely relate to, because I always like to say I'm like a holistic coach when I work with my clients. Like, if there's something going on in this sphere, first of all, I can't ignore it. Like, the oracle's like, there's like they're talking over here, but there's like this big thing, and I'm like, yeah, I got it. So I think that that's true. Like, we can try to compartmentalize. Like, I mean, people do. It doesn't always work. And I think that this is why I really love what you're doing, is that you're looking at that just like head on, right? Like, here it is. Let's talk about these really core dynamic pieces and how they work together. So I know that you're in Mexico right now, and so, but you're from Canada, is that correct?
Yeah, I moved here 3 years ago, and I came here on a vacation 4 years ago, and then I just loved it, in this tiny little beach town on the West Coast with wild crashing waves, a huge big beach, and I just ride my bike up and down the little road here. I teach yoga, I teach salsa, and I teach a women's empowerment fitness class called Booty. And
fun.
and yeah, and then I wake up and meditate, and I've been writing a lot, actually. So yeah, I mean, in maybe I'm kind of going into my question, but like,
that's okay. My next question was, yeah. So yeah, no, it's perfect. So tell me, what is your question for the oracle tonight?
Yeah, well, I mean, I like, in some ways I absolutely love my life, because I have kind of like the freedom and the alignment of knowing that I really am doing exactly what I feel I was born to do. But I've been really guided about how to do it financially. And it's challenging because basically I've realized, like, I'm not truly a business person. I mean, I built a multi-six-figure business speaking and selling, and I even coached people how to sell from the stage. And what I've come to realize is it's just not actually authentic for me, and that it was always like incongruent with my nature, and that I really would just rather be like doing my thing, you know, and not always hustling to promote myself. And I kind of just feel like I don't have it in me anymore to do that. Yeah. Like, I'm so deeply discouraged about doing that I'd rather just have like 2 people at my yoga class and just serve those 2 people, or whoever trickles in by way of very ineffective non-marketing, I'd rather just serve those people than actually, put myself out there and even go through the effort of learning how to do that. So I'm kind of like in this place of surrender and also almost feeling just defeated and very discouraged, and struggling financially. So, and paradoxically, at the same time, I'm feeling super connected with God, and I've been channeling a book. So anyway, I guess my question is just how to move forward, how to, do I just maybe get a job or find someone who actually is good at making money and just serve them with my coaching skills somehow? Right.
Well, I think it's beautiful that first of all, I want to acknowledge you for that, knowing what piece of this, because this is a very, I want to honor you for being very vulnerable and being really real about this, because this is not something that, isn't, I don't want to say popular, but happens to a lot of people when they're looking at something and they're out of alignment, that they are pushing and pushing and pushing. We have a phrase around our house, we call it pushing water uphill with a broom. You can do it, but it is really hard and you're going to be exhausted, so there's this place, and that's what she's saying. It's you've done so much of that. And as you were saying it, even your entire energy is very tense around that setup. So to be in a place where you allowed yourself to fall back on the sublime is really incredible. And her comment was, there's this place where the question really becomes back to you, what do you want? Mm-hmm. What do you really want it to look like? Because the ability to create it, right? If you're capable of creating multi-six-figure income, the ability to create it is there. So that means that the flow is there too. So what do you really want it to look like? If the magic wand were waved, what would it really look like for you?
Well, the time where I was the most successful financially was actually because I did align with powerhouse business people who were really good at bringing in clients, and then I served their audience and just was myself. So I think in a way I would love to have that situation happen again, but I can't just make that happen. But
well, I might digress on that. I think that what she's really pointing to is then, rather than take the energy, and I totally appreciate the energy of I'm just going to get a job. It's so much easier. Let's get a job and then we don't have to worry about it. And I think her inclination there is to say, don't do the work that you don't want to do, that you don't like to do, and do find someone that partnership works for everyone, that it is a win-win. Also that to be careful when you claim that, that it may not be possible to find that person. It may take effort, but it's probably not impossible. And more importantly, the point of this for her is always, everyone that comes on, everyone I talk to, it's always what is this person's purpose and how do we help them get there? It's clear that this is your purpose. It's clear that you have an alignment. You're set it yourself in regards to doing the work. So having that clarity, and then having the clarity of who you want to partner with be equal to that, will help to bring that about. So it's not so much about just wishing and hoping. It is really kind of giving yourself to a place where you clearly define what you want it to look like and who you want to work with, so that you can start calling that in and you can start speaking to it. So let me ask you this. How many people have you asked about the potential or knowing someone who would be able to kind of connect you with someone who'd be a partner like that for you now?
I just invested like 8 months in a partnership and it fell apart last week. So I'm kind of like just crushed by that, having put so much energy into something that yielded like zero result. And so I think I haven't put much else out there because I'm not yet feeling confident. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I can appreciate that. Yeah. That's that. I mean, it is. It's, it's a stinger that you have to solve, add solve to for yourself. And I think that I hear you're doing that in the environment you're in now and being in a place that really helps you to do that. And the encouragement is that your task, your answer to your question is to be here about it, to be in your heart and your head about what it looks like, to find, as you're doing your work of healing, making sure that you're keeping that visioning piece alive, right? So don't shut the door. Keep it open. Doesn't mean you have to go running out it, but it's a bit of like, keep it open and like put the neon sign out that you're like this is the person. The beacon needs to be lit, but you need to figure out what that looks like for you. And it's good that you've had this experience to look at and say, I often say to people, it's like, sometimes those kinds of experiences are the example of what not to do next. Right. So it's like a blessing in that too. And like, we can learn and we get stuck in the language of, I don't want that. It's like, yes, but what do you want instead? Mm-hmm. So I think that's her comment to you is focus on what you want and who you want to be involved with at that level, and keeping that as you start to heal so that heals with you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How did that land?
Good. Yeah. Thank you. Because I haven't had, I haven't been necessarily opening to a vision for the future. I'm hoping. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I would like to support you and share on the screen anyway, your link to what you are doing right now. So can you type it in the chat log for me and then I can post it on the screen for everyone?
Sure.
Awesome. Yeah. Cause I mean, I think that part of that process can happen when we've had a hit where we want to recoil, we want to hide, we want to stay away from, and that's not really helpful. I think that while we can have downtime, we don't want to disappear, and she doesn't want you to disappear either. And I think that's the whole point of like keeping the door open, keeping the beacon lit, letting people know that, you're in process, but open. And so this, for everybody that's watching, I'm actually going to put it in the comments too, so you guys can find it. And I'm going to take away these names, so it's kind of hard to see it this way. There we go. So lovesexgenius.com/the flow catalyst. I love that. The flow catalyst. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being a guest. Thanks for hopping in. All of a sudden,
thank you.
There, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you being on the show. Thanks everybody for your comments. I do see some people's comments, but we were in a moment where I wanted to just really stay present for you. So again, thank you, Karen, so much. And I look forward to, and please let us know on this, either in this comments or later, if any of this jives even deeper for you. We'd love to hear how things turn out. All right.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. So we're going to hop back to Natalie because I feel like we didn't quite complete. So I left her with like, I guess, kind of a cliffhanger comment. There she is. Hello. Welcome back. So I don't know how much you heard of what I said as far as the Oracle's guidance, but I am curious how that landed. And now that you've had a few minutes to digest.
Well, what I heard was to focus on the book first, which was that's where I have the most juice. And that as I'm writing the book, things will unfold, and even characters, people will, it'll give me clarity as to who should be on the podcast, and but the book is the anchor, and then the podcast can come later. And so that actually feels good to me. And that's what I heard. So I don't know what else you said after that.
No, I did. I kind of recapped that because we both disappeared. It was kind of funny. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm recapping for everybody and hopefully for Natalie if you didn't get back in. Yeah, and the last piece I was going to say that I said there was what I saw after you had popped off was that there's the content or fuel from the book will be infused in the podcast. So there's going to be things that are going to bubble up that are going to be really juicy pieces for your podcast. So yeah, so having that maybe in mind as you're writing too, or just being aware as you're writing, that's a piece of it. Yeah. So why don't you share how you would like people to contact you if they want to know more about you and what you're up to?
So I have so many gifts, and I'm like, which one should I give? So I think a really good one is it's a great place, because so many of us are called to be doing videos now, right? For Facebook Lives or like what you're doing, or just we live in a digital age. So I have a really great ebook that I wrote. Which teaches people essentially what to wear on videos, what are some of the mistakes people make that are distracting to the viewers, and how you can avoid them. So it's a really great ebook. It's my best gift of all time. And I'd like to offer that to everyone. And I can type in, where do I see this?
Well, why don't you type it in down in the bottom right is a little text box. If you click in there, I can actually copy it and put it on the screen.
So it's
awesome. An ebook. Yes. I certainly definitely can use that. Always think about that and more that I'm on camera, but it's great too for me because I know that sometimes guests ask like, what should I wear?
That's right.
I will tell you exactly.
You can give them that gift.
Yeah. Exactly what you can do about that because I think it's so important. And you're right. It's becoming so, commonplace for people to get out there and really share themselves on the internet, and really that's whether that's Be Live or YouTube or Facebook. We want to make sure that we are showing up in the best possible way. So that's there. And I'm also going to, for those of you watching, I'm going to put it in the comments as well. And speaking of comments, remember if you're watching, you can ask questions if we have some time at the end. So put Q&A and your question, or hashtag insight and your insight about what we've talked about so far. And we will go ahead and pull someone's name at random and send you off a really nice gift, which I will show you about in a moment. But thank you again, Natalie, for being here. I'm so, so grateful for all you do, for all you did for me, for the way you show up for the world and, the divine feminine and how we are rising and really showing up. And I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Leah. Thank
you
for having me.
All right. Well, wow. This is live television, folks. This is how it goes. And I'm so grateful for all of you for showing up and for coming back and watching the replays and sharing your comments. And I'm just going to sneak through here. I did see an insight somewhere. Insight, speak to what you want. Yes. Thank you so much. There we go. That's it. Speak to what you want. I think if I could say, like if somebody says one thing, you can tell somebody one thing. Okay, I always do two. One is gratitude. Please be grateful. Life is amazing, and there's so many things to be grateful for. And two, speak to what you want. That's really, it's going to make the biggest difference. So speaking of what I want, I'm excited to share my next guest with you. She is, she's a firecracker. She is such a bright light. She is so vivacious and engaging. And I got to meet her in Santa Cruz, and I just was magnetized by her beautiful face and her energy. So I'm really excited to share with you my next guest, Erin Birch, who is the creator of the Birch Method. Hi, Erin. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your patience. I'm so glad you're here. Can you?
Hi. I can hear you.
Okay.
Am I on the show?
You are on. You're live. Thanks for being here.
Okay. Thank you for having me. What a delight. Can I just say you're so lovable? You set such a beautiful container for people, and I'm thrilled to be here. And I love your story about Natalie. I know Natalie, and I would have loved to been there in Paris with you guys. In fact, I'm looking at a huge picture of the Eiffel Tower that I have in my place.
Love it. Love it. So tell us, more about the Birch method and what you've got going on right now in your world and your work.
So the Birch method is basically my lifeline. It's what happened for me when my body was toast. I was 35. I had a near aging experience, and I was headed into a crippled future where I was going to be not able to walk and in a wheelchair within 5 years. And I know that because my background is physical therapy, and I was watching my own deterioration, and it was frightening beyond belief. So what happened was I started to use all of my physical therapy tools, all of my yoga tools, but those weren't enough. So I had to develop something. I had to pioneer something, and I couldn't afford to do something that didn't work. So I only did stuff that worked. And then I started to notice that that what I was doing was also applicable to my clients. So I developed 3 really powerful pillars for the Birch method. The first one is alignment, which goes way more subtle and way deeper than most people think of as alignment. The second piece is pretty novel. It's attunement, which basically is like, how do people tune into their own body language? So our body has a language of sensation. And we know we have a phrase book for sensation. Like, we know when we're tired, we know when we're sick, we know when we're hungry, we know when we're, what our basic needs are. But we don't know that there's a world beneath the surface of the skin that could come alive for us and actually give us feedback and information about what's happening in real time, so that we don't ever have to go to the point of pain. Yeah.
That's incredible. I think that one piece you just said, that there's this world beneath the surface. I think that so many times we just stop at pain, or we stop at even hunger, right? Like, there's all these different subtleties beneath all of that. And our bodies are such amazing instruments for who we are, right? Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, because I think sometimes there's a camp that says we're just these empty vessels of spirit and energy. And then others that were like, no, everything is energy, which means so is our bodies. And so is like this attunement of like knowing and the flowing and all of that. Really, I just love the imagery of that. So tell me, I'm curious. I know that you've been doing this for so long. Do you think, what is like that common thing that people come to you and say, like, oh my God, like the one surprise that you hear more often than not when people start to really tap into their bodies?
I think they can't help but be fascinated by it. Because what I teach in the attunement piece is I teach people, like, when our minds are built to be distinction makers. We're distinction makers. That's how I think. So when we're kids and we learn, 2 + 2 is 4, that's like, we never unknow that.
Right.
Like when you make a distinction about something, it's something that comes alive for you, and you can build on it. And what I found is, in the body, when you can make a distinction of, oh, when I do this, when I hold tension in this place, I will get this result. When I can do something else, I will get that result. And that's such an empowering thing. What I tell people is that when it comes to our bodies, you can either be in the trunk or you can be in the driver's seat. And
wow.
What I do is I teach people how to move from the trunk into the driver's seat, and then I teach them how to drive this magnificent thing, which you said, is not really in my idea, based having done all of this work for 26 years. I don't think it's an empty vessel. I think we actually have the honor of living in an aspect of nature. We've got rivers, we've got trees, we've got rocks, we've got hill, we've got everything inside of our body. And I love that people love to be out in nature. I love to be out in nature, and like, we actually have access to it right here, right now. When we have wind, like when we breathe, we're in in the wind. It's amazing.
Oh, I'm just like mesmerized by the imagery you just put through this screen. And I hope people are capturing that as much as I just was, which is like, oh my gosh, I can just feel myself breathing lighter and knowing that connection piece and really tapping into that pure vibration and intuition of our physical bodies and being attuned to that. So tell me, speaking of intuition, what would your question be for tonight of the Oracle?
It's so fascinating because listening to both Natalie's question and Karen's question, I'm like, yes, that and that. And actually what my question is sort of like, it's a riff off Karen's, but it's what I've been thinking about for a long time. And that is, and I also really want to speak to Karen's like just pure rawness and vulnerability in asking that. That was really beautiful. And I was really inspired by it. So I'm really grateful for her sort of paving that way. But I'm not and I think Karen, myself, whatever, we're not alone when we say we're not natural business people, and I've been working really hard, pushing water uphill with a broom, trying to make myself into something, right? Using other people's stuff, thinking they must have the answers. And I'm in a marketing crisis right now. Trying to figure out, like, there must be a new way that is so authentic to me to market what I do so that people, like they see me, they hear me, and they're gravitating towards the results that I know that I can bring. I mean, I'm in the high performance space. I'm in the anti-aging space. Not anti-aging. That's not really the right word. It's hard, it's hard to find the right word for that.
Right.
It's sort of like, I find myself, this is my birthday month. I'm turning 62.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So I find myself in this place where I'm just getting started in some ways, even though I've been doing this for forever. And I'm just really curious, like, how do I authentically market so that people are drawn towards, like I said, the promise that I hold for them?
Yeah. So it's interesting. And it was funny as you were talking, for me, the Oracle, there's energetic flowing around, listening to the question, and then it kind of lands. And what was really funny is we're going to land here. And then all of a sudden you went there and I was like, whoa, we were ready for that question. And so there's this piece that's coming up of the belief that it's an either or. I think we're kind of a little bit back to Karen, right? It's an either or. Like, you either have to do it all this one way, or you have to do it the other people's other way, and that there can't, or there at least hasn't been for you, as you were saying, like a place where that melded together. And what I'm seeing for you, interestingly, is in a different way than Karen, is that your story is your flag. It's the thing, as you were talking about the results piece. Like, the more you can speak to your story and your own results, and I feel like even just tonight, maybe there's a point of this where maybe there's a deeper part of it that you haven't yet revealed. And so it's like she's just pointing, like, the story. She keeps saying flag. So, and like, maybe it's like more like, okay, I'm seeing a flag, but I think it's more like a banner. So it's the banner. Yeah. Okay. I get it now. So have you ever seen, like, outside of the car dealership with the wiggly guy, right?
Yeah. The wiggly guy.
Like the story, yeah, exactly. Your story is that. It's that thing that's going to catch the right ear or eye. So I don't know how you're promoting that piece or how you're speaking to it, but it feels like what she's saying is there's a layer. It feels like there's a layer beneath, like maybe more of a raw, real, vulnerable side of that story that is not really being revealed. Like maybe almost like you've got a little piece held back.
Yeah, well, I guess, and maybe that's because I'm afraid of scaring people, because I mean, for me, it was very dark. I was very, very alone, and it was very, very dark for a long time, and all I had was like breadcrumbs that would appear and then disappear. I mean, it was such a long, involved journey for me. I make it easier for other people because I've obviously pioneered this, but I'm definitely, I stand in the proof of concept with it. Like I just, and the rawness was also just the knowledge that the cavalry wasn't coming.
Right. There's a piece of the aloneness.
Yeah.
That you're not like my dear Erin, you are beautiful and vivacious and now so engaging. And I'm not saying you weren't necessarily then before when this was going on for you, but I'm guessing that someone who would be in that state probably is feeling very alone and cut off. Oh. And so you're asking about speaking to that place in them. So I think that there's probably marketing aspects and tools and things like that, but but the message piece of that coming through, if it goes to that place, then it's going to connect to them where they really are. And then sharing the result piece of that from your own perspective, I think is like, that's the following up of the loop.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know how much of that side of the story you're tapping into, but it feels like that's for lack of a better word, that's a vein that you can mine a little bit more, and that will allow more of the common, the public, the peoples to see themselves. Mm-hmm. You have a beautiful problem, which is that you're so amazing now. It's hard for anybody.
It's hard. Yes, it's true. It's true.
You suffered.
Yeah. I mean, the result that I'm living right now was like, my history does not, my physical history, my injuries and all that stuff, the surgeries, there's an impossibility between that place and where I am now. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that for you then makes that leap for others more challenging. So it is like, how do you tap in and pull them right back out? But it really feels like you need to go deeper into it so that they can really catch the thread. It's almost like the thread is just a little too, like they just can't reach it. Yeah. I think that's what we were just speaking to, like that impossibility, like, I don't really. And so just giving a little bit more of that deeper might really pull them in towards you. And then whatever you do, I think on the other side of that is that the marketing piece and all of that, if you're leading with that, it will feel more authentic to you. Right? It will bring you back in. Okay. It'll make it more rich and more rewarding.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, does that feel complete to you? Does that give you?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm not, it's like, it's a place to begin.
Exactly. Yes, I know. I always tell everybody, like, when we're on this show, we have a little bit of time, but I promise you, I'm here for follow-ups as well. But yes, it's one of those things, like we can get like the most insight we can in the moments we have, which I definitely try to do. Speaking of which, I'm just going to check to see if we have any questions. I didn't notice any, so I'm double checking, and we're almost at time anyway. Champagne. Good morning, grounding message. Yes. Okay. So, let's see. I don't see any insights either. I just had that one. So, we are almost at time. I'm going to go ahead really quickly here and let Aaron
Do you-
free off. Oh, I'm going to put Aaron's. Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah.
I know I could feel it. All right. So before we go, Aaron, do you have something you want to share that we can post in,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah,
chat box?
I do. I have an ebook as well, and it's called Create Your Ideal Body Guidebook, and it's super powerful. It's packed with exercises and stuff that I love it. It's good stuff.
Wonderful. So why don't you go ahead and put the link in there, and I can.
Where do I put the link? I am not
down the chat. Down the chat on the right side or left side. Excuse me.
Never saw it.
Little round.
Oh, that. Okay. All right. Awesome. So
you put that there. And so if anybody else is watching this while we're getting this posted and you have an insight or you have a comment.
Did I do it right?
Let's see. You did it. There it is. I got it. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and copy it. We're going to post it on the screen so we can see it.
Awesome.
Show and hide. There we go. Fantastic. And then I'm also going to put it in the comments so people can find it, which is always easier if you're typing like me right now. Fantastic. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you being here. No, I appreciate your patience with our technology issues tonight.
Absolutely.
I just really, again, as with Karen, I appreciate your ability to stay true and honest and vulnerable here. I think that's the biggest thing that we can do as entrepreneurs and leaders is really be honest with where we're at. And I think that knowing that asking for assistance, asking for some insight is a piece of being a leader. It's a part of understanding that you don't have to have it all on your shoulders. And I think sometimes as women, we feel like that might be a burden that we are kind of born to carry. And I really am appreciative of watching people step up and say, I'm not sure. And how do we maybe look at that a little differently? So I appreciate you for that. And I thank you for being here.
And I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so glad for all of our guests tonight, Natalie Chaperone, Karen McMullen, and Aaron Birch. I'm so glad you guys are all here. I'm going to quickly look through. I did see some comments. I'm just going to do a little scrolly scroll. I didn't say what we're going to give away tonight. Oh, yes. Here we go. All right. So tonight we're going to give away these really cute. Someone told me these aren't really easy to see, but they're little cards. They look like this. They open up. They're little like inspiration cards. And inside there's a little inspiration message that you can read. They're really great because you can hand them out. You can keep them on your desk, which I do. And so we're going to pick somebody out of this list with me. I'm going to do it psychically. Here we go. Psychic powers are coming. And April Blake. Awesome. April Blake. I will be able to get this out to you. So I will send that out. That is your gift for tonight. I don't see any questions, and I think we're just about at time. So unless I scroll through here and see one, which I don't. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I am actually going to share this comment because I think that all the time that we spend having people think things about us or say things about us that are nice and we don't always hear them, I really love to acknowledge people. And I see that Karen has acknowledged you, Aaron. She said, your story is amazing, very compelling. Thank you so much for acknowledging my vulnerability. I love hearing about the long, dark journey and the idea of breadcrumbs. I thought that was great too. And how you can really save people so much pain and time. I totally agree with that statement. And I think that what's great about that is that in sharing that, we're going to put Aaron's link up again. In sharing that, I think the piece that really matters is that we understand that there's help, people out there to help you. So it's you in the world right now that are out there being light bearers, really bringing powerful things to the world that are wanting to help you. So if you're watching this now, remember, as the Oracle told me, you are here on purpose. You have something to offer the world, and the world is waiting for it from you. There is something unique about you that the world created when it created you. So please keep coming back. Please keep sharing your insights and your questions. We'll be here next week on Wednesday at 6 p.m. for Oracle Live TV. I am Leah Dunlap, the Oracle on Purpose. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.